In this video, we will discuss how to create a graph using an Excel sheet. So for that, I have opened my Excel sheet. And the first thing I want to do up here is in the first column A, I'm going to put in my title. And then because I've already typed out everything in a table format, I discussed it with you in my previous video on how to create a table using Word document. I will grab information from there and paste into this page. But also, since you've already typed up your survey questions and categories, you can do the same. So here I'm just going to click on the second row and I am going to paste the information, the copied cells onto the Excel sheet. You notice that everything is kind of overpopulated and you can't really read things. But if you widen these columns, you will clearly see each category and you'll be able to read them more specifically. So this is how we can widen our columns. So next we have to punch in our survey questions. So for that, again, I'm going to go back to my Word document and I'm going to paste the information I copied. So here we go. So here are my survey questions and categories. So again, if I widen that column, I can read them more specifically, more clearly. So now I need to plug in the data. That too, I will go back to my Word document or my table and get the data from there. And again, I'll do the same thing. Click on this column and paste the information I have copied. And there you go. Here. So we've plugged in our data. Now another thing we can do over here is highlight this area and go to Format Cells, go to Border and make this selection and say OK. What this does is it kind of, gives you a more highlighted, more precise columns and table. Okay, so now we're going to take this information and convert it into a graph. So what we can do is we're going to go up here, go into Insert, and then you see all these options under Charts. You can make your own selection or you can pick the recommended chart. The program automatically gives you a recommendation. I did go with the recommended option because I have 8 different questions and 4 answers for each question. So I went with this option. I clicked on it and I said OK. And it automatically gave me this graph. Now I wanted it to be bigger. So I grabbed it from one corner and then I enlarged the graph. And there you go. That's your graph right there. Now, if you want to add color to it, I just place it in a white area within the graph. And then I go for the option Fill up there. And then the lighter the color, the better, because you should be able to have that contrast to read the writing and the other colors that you have used within the graph. So I'll go for this option. Okay. Now you can also select your text over here and go to Home and you can bold the text. You can make it a different font size. Let's make it an Arial. Let's not make it too big because it's a busy graph. If we make the text too big, our actual bars will get smaller, so we don't want to do that. So this is how you create a chart. And then by going here, you can add your title. So make sure your graph has a title. Your X and Y axes are clearly marked. Your questions and categories are clear. And your numeric digits are clear. What you're measuring is clear. Like in this case, we have 4 different categories. The yellow is familiar and can explain. Gray is know somewhat, orange is heard about it but cannot explain, and blue is never heard. So your graph should be clear on its own. It should not need any extra explanation. We are going to do the analysis paragraph and explain this data and graph, but it should not require any extra explanation. It should be complete in its own.